Hi guys, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This actually wasn't part of the original plan, but right when I was about to close the series, one concept suddenly appeared in my mind. I remembered in economics there is a term called ceteris paribus. It means all other things being equal. It's an assumption we use so the world feels predictable, so our limited brains can understand something. But here's the thing, friends. In real life, there is no ceteris paribus. Yeah, everything moves, everything changes, everything connects in ways we can never fully predict. And suddenly I realized this is exactly what we've been talking about from part 1 to part 5. There is no categories variables in in real world. Therefore, the word inshallah is the distance. Honestly, when this concept surfaced, I just sat there in silence because it felt like, oh, this is what I have been searching for the word to say, and let's reflect on this together. We make detailed plan. We calculate rates. We think if I do A, then will then B will definitely happen. That's ceteris paribus thinking. That is how we think when we create maps in our head. But then we say inshallah. And all this time, maybe we've been saying it without truly absorbing its meanings. We thought inshallah was just a formality or simply a religious wrapper for our plans, right? But let's really reflect what is inshallah actually. Inshallah is the acknowledgement that our map is not the territory. Inshallah is the acknowledgement that our mental models are limited. Inshallah is the acknowledgement that there is no ceteris paribus in the real world. Inshallah, inshallah is the language that bridges the distance between our version of right and actual truth. It is a word born from the awareness. I can plan, but I do not control. I can think, but I do not know everything. I can try, but the result is not in my hands. Imagine if every time we argued, we remember this concept, not to end the debate, but to remind ourselves, I could I could be wrong. My perspective could be limited. What I consider right might only be right on my map, because on my map, there is categories variables, assumptions that doesn't exist in the real world. Inshallah is the opposite of intellectual arrogance. It is the word that allows us to say, I am confident in my opinion, but I do not hold absolute truth. In part 4, we talked about enriching our vocabulary. Well, inshallah should be one of the richest words in our lives dictionary. Not just because of its religious value, but because within these single words there is humility. I do not control everything. Awareness of limitation. I do not know what will happen. Acknowledgement that there is no ceteris paribus. Everything can change. Trust. There is no one who knows beyond my knowing. Surrender. I try my best. The rest I leave to him. One word, but its depth is like an ocean. Friends, life is like walking through fog. We have a flashlight. That's knowledge, experience, logic, or carefully crafted plans. But our flashlight can only illuminate a few meters ahead. The rest is dark, unseen. Gatherers Barabbas is when we think, ah, the path ahead must be straight, safe, just like the map. But we don't know. The fog hides strands, cliffs, or maybe even a more beautiful path. Inshallah is when we keep walking, keep using our flashlight, but we're aware I am walking in fog. So I hold the hands of the ones who sees all. In part 5, I asked how do we how do we bridge the distance between right and truth? Now I have an answer that came from my own reflections. By living it in the spirit of inshallah. Not surrender without effort, but trying our best, planning as strictly as possible while keeping our hands open. Because we never know when, where, or how reality outside our map will surprise us. Sometimes the surprise is better. Plan fails, hopes shatter. Sometimes it's sweet. Blessing come from direction we never expected. But inshallah teaches us how to remain steady in the midst of both. And I want to be honest with you guys. When the concept inshallah is the distance appears in my mind, I was silent, I was silent for quite a while because I realized that all this time I had misunderstood that words. I thought inshallah was a sign of doubt, when actually inshallah is a sign of faith. Faith that there is something greater beyond myself. I thought inshallah made people lazy, when actually inshallah is what allows us to sleep peacefully after giving our best effort. I thought inshallah was just an Indonesian habit. I thought it was just a formality, when actually this is the deepest acknowledgement that humans are limited and nothing in this world stays the same. So if someone asks how far is the distance between our version of right and actual truth, the answer is the distance is called inshallah. That is how humble we must be. That is how deep our trust must go. And that is how high our hope should reach. Friends, this series officially ends here with one concept that for me personally feels like the perfect closing. Thank you for joining me from part 1 through part 6. And thank you for listening, reflecting, and if there is anything you disagree with, that's okay. Because all know there is no ceteris paribus in this world. And maybe my perspective is limited, maybe your perspective is different, and that's beautiful. And for our individual journeys, well, you know the answer. Inshallah, we will meet again in the next series with topics just as interesting. I'll take my leave now. Take care of yourselves, take care of your hearts, and don't forget say inshallah with your full heart, not as a formality, but as an acknowledgement that we are small and the one above is infinite. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.